The Smith & Wesson Model 642 Centennial Airweight. Let's check it out. Smith & Wesson introduced their Centennial series in 1952, and then in 1990 they introduced the Airweight. This is a very lightweight pistol. It has an internal hammer. It's in .38 special and it's 5-shot. I mean, it is a very concealable firearm, and yet it's very reliable. We're going to do a full review on this pistol, but we're also going to talk about some pros and cons of carrying a small little snubby revolver for self-defense. And for me, this makes an excellent backup, and we're going to talk about that as well. And guys, I've had the Model 442 Centennial Airweight for about 15 years, and I have carried this quite a bit. These are solid little guns, and they will take a steady diet of plus P. And guys, we really appreciate Nate over at Gun Zone Deals for sending the Model 642 for this review. He gives us a lot of options for different guns that we can bring to you guys to show you what's out there. Now, the Model 642 is also called the Centennial, and it's the Airweight. And so it's marked right here, and it's because this is a very, very light revolver. It does have a stainless steel barrel and a stainless steel cylinder, and all the other parts are stainless or steel. And then we have an alloy aluminum frame, which makes it super lightweight. One of the things that Smith & Wesson says is that these can have a steady diet of plus P ammunition. And plus P means plus pressure. It just gives you more pressure. Again, you'll have a little bit more recoil, but it's a better self-defense option. And out of a small little revolver like this, I mean, it gives you 5 rounds that is safe defense capable. Again, they do make the 357 Magnum pretty much in this same design. It's the Model 340 and 342. But this is in the J frame, which that is Smith & Wesson's smallest frame. The original Model 36, or the Chief Special, was designed in 1950. And then in 1952 came the Model 40. The Model 40 was all steel, and again, it served for a number of years. And this was introduced again in 1990. So for over 70 years, the little Chief Specials, or all the variants thereof, have been used by law enforcement, especially detective specials, been used for self-defense. So this is a really tried and proven design. And one of the big things about the Model 36 or the Model 642 and the 442 is that these are a very popular seller for Smith & Wesson. They're not necessarily the newest gun in town, they're just one that sells over the years, and they're steady. Now, one beautiful thing about .38 Special is there are a number of different loads you can choose from. Different styles. Here we have a 158 grain plus P, and this is jacketed hollow point. We have a standard .38 Special. It's not plus P, but it's still jacketed hollow point. And then we have just a round nose, and this also comes in a lead round nose as well. And then we have the wad cutter, which is just a flat bullet. This is 140 grain. Then we have the shot shells, and this is great for pest control. Now, this is a 357 Magnum on the end, and this is a little bit longer case, but they do make a number of models pretty much the same size as the Model 642 and 442 that handle the 357 Magnum. But your recoil is going to be significantly increased. But you can shoot .38 Specials in 357 Magnum, just not vice versa. Now we're going to go ahead and release the cylinder. Just push down on your cylinder latch forward and then just drop out your cylinder. It's a 5-shot .38 Special. You have your ejector rod here, so when you push that, it actually pushes the rim of the shell out. whether loaded or unloaded. And so it's really fast to deploy. And then once you load it, you lock it up, and it locks right here on this detent. And so this is a solid lockup. There's a teeny bit of movement, but that's acceptable and typical. The grip is small, and it's made to be small. It needs to be something very thin and very easy to conceal. And these grips, honestly, are very comfortable. They're the rubberized, cushiony grips, and I really like these grips. And then here with my 442, I have some VZ grips. These are G10. I mean, they're beautiful grips. But to be honest, when you go out to the range, this is a much more comfortable grip in your hand. Again, you have an aluminum frame, so it's a really lightweight firearm. And so when that comes back, it gives you a little bit of cushioning in your hand. It really helps. I still like these grips, but I do have the originals. And after going to the range with this one, I may put them back on here, except that this really looks good. But you can see that I have been carrying this one for a number of years, and it has the dings. And guys, it's just a tool. And when all my concealed carry pieces are tools, and I do try to take care of them as much as possible, but I just don't obsess with it. Also with the 642 and the 442, it has an enclosed hammer. And so this will keep any kind of snagging down. You know, one of the things about a standard revolver is that you can actually stop the action by grabbing that hammer, or you can get it caught on something. And so with this, it makes it a very snag-free design, which I really like. Now, one thing about that is that it's double action only. So with a hammer, you can actually cock the hammer and you have a really light trigger pull. With this, it's a double action only. And that means that when we pull this trigger, and it's heavy, and we're going to gauge it in a minute, but when you pull this trigger, it comes all the way back, and now you're ready to fire again. So it's just part of the action. But in a self-defense situation, you're going to be using double action because you want to deploy it very quickly. Regardless of what the movies show, where somebody points a revolver and they cock it and they sit there and point it to somebody, which obviously can be done. But usually people that want to cock the hammer back are really trying to get good accuracy. The trigger pull is very light when you cock the hammer, and so with this, it does have a heavy, long trigger pull. Now the barrel's really short. In fact, it's 1.875 inches in length. It's under 2 inches. But this is made for up close and personal. And then, of course, we have a front blade for the sight, and then here at the rear, you just have a small little notch. You're not going to get some incredible accuracy with this, but if you practice, you can get pretty decent accuracy. The fit and finish on this is just excellent. The checkering right here on the cylinder release is really nice. Now, they do have a lock that you can actually lock the action down right here. I'm not a big fan of that, but Smith & Wesson now is offering a model without that. So honestly, if you're going to get one of these, I would get it without the lock if possible. But I've never had any problems with the lock, and you can disable this lock as well. The trigger guard is not very large. If you have gloved hands, it's going to be a little tough to get it in there. Of course, one of the big things about this pistol too is that it is a very small gun, and it's made to be very small. If you have really large hands, it's almost going to get lost in this. But again, it's a very quick to deploy option for self-defense. And because it's a double action only, you can fire this out of your pocket, you can fire it out of a pocketbook, a backpack, whatever. And two, you can get it up close to someone and even press the muzzle against them and fire. But when it comes to semi-automatics, if the slide is pushed back even slightly, it's not going to fire. It knocks it out of battery, and the safety will keep that from firing. And so if you're going to press a semi-automatic against someone, it could possibly not fire when you need to. And that's one of the things about a small revolver, is that they'll fire no matter what. It's 6.3 inches in length, and it's about 4 1/4 inches from top to bottom, and about 1.5 inches with the cylinder. But it's still a very narrow, very concealable option. And two, these are compliant in California and Massachusetts because they've been around that long. And the weight on the Model 642, 14.6 ounces. I mean, guys, it is super light. When it comes to double action, your trigger pull is heavier. It's part of the safety. It's the reason why you don't really have any external safeties on here. But as we get it up here and we start pulling that trigger, I mean, it is smooth, but you can feel the cylinder turning. You can feel the mechanisms inside as they're turning, but it's a fairly smooth action. But guys, it's really heavy. We're going to check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 10 pounds, 7.1 ounces. And because of the heavy trigger pull, this is really not suited for those who have little experience shooting. I have a lot of friends of mine whose wives just wanted one of these. They just liked the way it looked. They liked the simplicity. They liked how easy it was to load. No slide to pull back. But once they got it and they took it out to the range, they were back at the gun store trading it in on a semi-automatic. So if you're going to choose something like this, you need to let those that, again, don't have a lot of experience, or especially ladies. There are a lot out there that like it and can shoot it, but you need to make sure before you end up spending that extra money. Really appreciate Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammo. All made in the USA. #1 supplier of ammunition in the country. We're just going to be shooting some target loads today and through this little 642. And when it comes to taking a small little 38 special airweight revolver down to the range, there's definitely some recoil. But one of the big pluses for this are these little rubberized grips. I mean, they cushion the recoil. And if you get a good tight grip on it, you can master it. Now, one of the big things too is that you have that really long trigger pull. And it's heavy. I mean, around 11.5 pounds. But once you get used to it, it's not too bad. And it's a very smooth pull. The pull comes back. You can feel a little bit of the cylinder rotating in your finger, but it's not too difficult to stay on target. Now, with these sights, they're very low profile. So, you know, you're getting what you get. But that makes it snag free, and it makes it a great concealable option. They're very pointable, they're easy to shoot. Whether you're shooting it two-hand, which you can get a pretty decent grip on it, or even one-handed, which you'll typically fire this gun one-handed in a self-defense situation. So it's always important to train using just one hand. One thing though, and we've talked about this a little bit, is this is not necessarily something for beginner shooters. With that long trigger pull, it's a little bit difficult, especially those with weaker hand strength. It's hard to get that double action trigger pull all the way through. And to be honest with you, when I first got my 442, it took a little time to get used to it. I like pulling back the hammer on the Model 36. It was really easy to do, but with this trigger pull, it is a little bit longer. But once you practice this a few times at the range, you'll start to really be able to put those rounds on target. This pistol is really made for up close and personal. It's made to get in there in the fight, and so that's what it's designed for. But really, once you get used to shooting this, it's not that bad with recoil. It's just learning how to shoot it. And if you're shooting semi-automatics, shooting a revolver is definitely just different. I mean, it's a different type action. And one of the big things about a small revolver is that they're very reliable. With that double action trigger pull, I mean, when you pull that trigger, it'll fire, unless you have some kind of problem with the ammo. But that's one of the things that a revolver really brings to the table. And also, you can shoot it in your jacket pocket, you can get it up close, you can even press it up to an assailant and still be able to fire. And those are great advantages of a small little revolver. Or for that matter, a big revolver. And when it comes to accuracy, I mean, the long trigger pull definitely affects it, and those really low profile snag-free sights. There's not a lot to see. To me, honestly, putting a little bit of some paint on the end of that sight really helps. But with good practice, you can get some decent groups. Now there's a number of different ways that you can load your revolver. Of course, just push your cylinder latch forward and you can drop the shells in one at a time. And this is the way I typically do it when I'm at the range. And it's real simple. They just pop right in. Once the shells are fired, or even if these haven't been fired, right here with your ejector rod, just push out and it'll drop all the shells right out. And so that way you're able to unload fairly quickly. But speed loaders come in really handy, and this is one of the HKS speed loaders. These have been around for a long time, but there are other options out there. And so just drop your rounds in just like you were putting them in the cylinder, except backwards. And of course it's really easy with 5 rounds. And then you just lock it. And once it's locked, It's solid. And there are even pouches they make for these, or you can even slip these in your pocket. And then just take the revolver and drop them in and just turn the knob, and then they'll drop right in. And it does take some practice. And obviously I haven't been doing this lately, but it's really easy to do once you get used to it. And now you're ready to fire. Now another plus for the J-frame Smith & Wessons is there's a ton of different holster options. You can go with outside the waistband holsters, leather. You can go with Kydex. Here we have a small little leather inside the waistband holster. Just fits really nice in here. And then of course ankle holsters. This is one of my favorite ways to carry it. And this is one of the DeSantis Apaches, and it has this faux sheepskin material which makes it super comfortable, and you even have a little small latch. And so these are great options. They're very easy to carry, and there are others as well that you can use. And then of course sticky holsters if you want to put this in your pocket. Guys, there's a ton of different holster options, and so the sky's the limit. Now one of the beauties of a small revolver like this is it's just super easy to maintain and to clean. And of course you just pop your cylinder latch, clean off the face here of your cylinder, and then again right here, clean that off. You can see where I've been firing it. It's kind of building up a little bit. And then you want to lift out your ejector rod, and you can clean underneath. And then all along the top of the strap here and around the forcing cone of the barrel, and just keep this clean back here where your firing pin is. Mainly just wipe it down. Of course, you know, you can go through the bore and clean out your bore of your barrel. But again, very simple to clean, very easy. Now the 642 is a stainless cylinder and barrel with an aluminum alloy frame. The 442 is a carbon steel cylinder, and I believe it still has a stainless steel barrel, but it's just blued. And then of course you have a matte anodized finish on the aluminum receiver. And guys, this grip right here, there is a ton of different options, not just the one from Smith & Wesson, and even some rubberized grips as well. You can get some that actually will enlarge this grip a little bit if you find this uncomfortable to shoot. There are a lot of options out there. Speaking of options, there's the Performance Center Model 642 and 442. There's the Lady Smith, which is made just for ladies, styled for ladies. You can get laser grips on here. I mean, you can get the Model 36, the Model 60. There's a number of different calibers and sizes. I have a number of different calibers in 22 Magnum, 22, 9mm. There's just a bunch of different options for these pistols. This just happens to be the one that I really prefer. I love the 38 Special. I love the multitude of ammo choices, and it's just so small and easy to carry in your pocket or any holster. Now the pros and cons of carrying a small little 38 revolver. First off is there are no jams, there's no stovepipes. You know, it typically just functions unless you have a problem with the ammo. I mean, it is a very reliable gun. The other thing is you can get this really in close if you're being attacked. I mean, you can put it right up next to an assailant and you're able to fire the pistol. You can fire this through a jacket pocket. You can fire it through a pocketbook. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with this in a very tight spot, which with a semi-automatic with the slide functioning, you know, you may have some issues with reliability. And two, when you put this up against a hard object, it's not going to go out of battery. And that's one thing about semi-automatics that's a problem. If you press a semi-automatic up against someone, it's not going to fire. Also, these are really quick to deploy. You can just pull them out and fire them. And with that double action trigger pull, which I'm not going to recommend, but you could carry this just loose in your pocket and it's pretty safe. But I always recommend carrying some kind of holster just to keep that trigger guard covered. It's easy to clean. I mean, very simple. There's not any kind of disassembly. You just open the chamber or the cylinder and you can go right to it. And also you can see that it's loaded or unloaded because the brass is right along the side. And you don't have to pull the slide back, which a lot of people with weaker hands, it's kind of difficult to pull slides back on semi-automatics. Now, the downside to that is the trigger pull is long and it's really heavy. And so before you run out and buy one of these for your wife or for your elderly grandmother, you need to make sure that they can pull that trigger because that can be an issue. And another downside is that it only holds 5 rounds. Yes, it's easy to load, but it's not very quick to load. Even with a speed loader, it takes a lot of practice. And so you have 5 rounds. But there's the old mantra that says most gunfights happen within 3 feet, 3 shots, 3 seconds. And if that's true, then you're good to go. But it still does limit your round capacity. That's why, to me, this makes just an excellent backup option. Now, the MSRP on the Smith & Wesson 642 is $532. Guns on Deals is offering these for $435.95. If you look at the Model 36, they're under the Classics. They retail over $800. But the Model 642 and 442, because of the aluminum receiver, they're just less expensive to produce. So while revolvers have definitely fallen down the top 10 list, the Smith & Wesson J-frames are extremely popular and they sell very well. This is that traditional classic look. Again, simple, easy, very reliable, and it's just one of those firearms that will stay around for a long time because there's so many different advantages to having a small revolver. And guys, we really appreciate Nate over at Guns on Deals for sending the Model 642 for this review. He gives us a lot of options for different guns that we can bring to you guys to show you what's out there. Rubber Dummies is one of the best training tools on the market, and you get a 10% discount using Sootch00 when you click the link down in the description. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. Have the London Bridge falling down. Okay. But when it comes to... So while revolvers have definitely... Okay, you just like it. And so now... Oh, you definitely feel like you've got something in your hand. Okay, that don't make any freaking sense. Of course you got something in your hand, you goob. And that's one of the beauties of a nice revolver. And that's one of the beauties of a... But one of the huge... Whoops, I dropped that sucker. Oh, good gosh.